Okay.
What's next?
So now, once I got this overcast painting done, I'm gonna turn on a desk lamp to light it differently and see if I can paint as if I'm turning on the light on the same painting.
That's great.
So to set up this correctly, that's kind of why I was painting everything individually in the beginning, where it kind of dragged me into this big mistake. But now when you do that, it'll be very helpful to have these elements separated. So in this case, the robot and the seesaw toy, and then the car, and I have the car in the green
Cylinder block.
Yeah, cinder block in the same layer. So, it's separated from the background, okay? And now I turned on the light, and I'm going to use adjustment layers that we introduced in the previous week, and then see if I can light it. So at first, I brought everything into this darker, as if the light is turned off. If you look at the room, the room was darker by the time, but also it's a bit of I wanted to leave the room for the desk lamp to give an influence, So I actually darkened the whole room first, and then this adjustment layer, I just started to cut out where it's lit and where it's shadow. So this shadow layer, I'm only painting out where it's lit.
Let's kind of summarize that a bit. Go back over it, because it's a really great concept. It's a really complex thing to go through, both in terms of technique and theory. So let's talk about technique a bit. You have a shadow layer, right? For each, that's assigned to each of these layers.
Yeah.
Right? And we are painting out in the mask where the light is actually hitting these objects. So right now, what you're doing is you have one adjustment layer on this, and you're just painting in the mask where it's not. Now here you're adding a second adjustment layer.
Yeah.
And in this adjustment layer, you are adding the temperature of the light and brightening the value.
Yeah. That's basically, the first one is the shadow layer. So the light side, it's not any different from the overcast painting I did. But it's not light enough. And it's not, definitely temperature is not right. So I added the overlay layer with the strong lightness and the warmth. So now it looks like a spotlight, the desk lamp light hitting the light side. And I added another adjustment layer to give a slight cool feel light from the window. Because even though it was getting darker, it's still giving you a slight coolness on the shadow side.
By contrast.
Yeah, by contrast. So now you have a nice, warm and cool relationship between light and fill light, the key light and fill light. Okay, so again, but you can see how crude it looks right now.
Yes.
Because it's coming from the different direction. You already have a direction, even though it's a neutral diffused lighting setup. Remember, it has a direction because it's coming from one window. So this is one example that this technique is not perfect right away, but I still think it's very useful because it actually forces you to think about light when you're painting. So look at this, you're really kind of forcing it, and it's not quite
looking lit.
Yeah, looking lit. And one of the main reasons why it's not looking lit is that it kind of goes all the way back to our week 2 of value grouping. That's missing right now. Now it's getting muddy. It's getting really dirty. The simplification pass has to happen. And that's what I'm going to do after, once this is established.
Now, are you painting now?
Now I'm painting. Because that's what I mean by I have to, because almost this adjustment layer thing is to force me to think in light, and this is what's happening in light. Now, once it's understood, I'm going to simplify this value structure by simplifying it, just really using the bigger brush, and then painting clean. Clean meaning like less sort of subtle values, range. That's not necessary. So you can kind of see I'm just simplifying it, things that needs to be brighter, but overall very, very simple simple approach. Painting everything, almost like you have this underpainting and you're just going over it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think that's a great way to think about it. Now, when you talk about the adjustment layers being more closely related to thinking about lighting, is that meaning like each adjustment layer is sort of a light? Like wherever this adjustment layer is, you really have to think about it does very limited things, and so you really are forced to think about it in the sense that it is not. You only can paint black and white in an adjustment layer. You can only turn it on and off. So is that? I'm trying to understand how using an adjustment layer relates more, I guess.
Yeah, I think one thing to think about is you're separating each light element, because in real life the lights are everywhere. You have bounce light and fill light. You could have an extra key lights,
Mm-hmm.
But even in the simplest setup like here, where you have this strong spotlight and you have very slight fill light from the left, but it's not like a sunlight kind of strength. So the bounce light is not as strong, right? So I'm only really using this spotlight versus cool fill light. The only thing is that we all, especially in this kind of case where everything had to be dropped first, the shadow needs to get darker. I have this shadow layer, and then you have this key light layer with overlay, and then I have the sky fill light layer. So it's just the 3 adjustment layers. But it really forced me to think about light separately. So this really allows you to just focus on one light at a time.
Great.
And then one thing that's really important to remember is it's not like you still have to adjust the in this case I always use hue saturation. You have to adjust the brightness, hue, and saturation on your own. In the end, you're relying on your eyes to make sure. That's why observational painting is still great in using this technique. You still have something to compare it to. It's not about this formula that would make anything to look like something. You're really trying to match what you're seeing. When you're painting from your head for illustration and stuff, you have to rely on your experience of what it would look like, what if it's sunlit or if it's overcast. And that's why observational painting would build the library of your knowledge, so that you can use it when you're adjusting these colors and layers.
Color is really a complicated subject that we tried to cover in one lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think this is something that one of the topics that just goes really deep. And we've kind of just scratched the surface. Hopefully, we're really just trying to lay a foundation, a good groundwork to kind of study on your own. And really, you've got to go out and observe nature to see color. Paint outdoors as much as you can, I would say. That's the most helpful thing for me.
Yeah, that's the key. Like, none of our classes which shouldn't solve anything that you have, when you're painting. But hopefully, it gives you some sort of a key to solve your own problems by yourself. And color is like, just like anything else, but especially color can be very deceiving in terms of what people say, like theories and, all the rules and stuff. I really think, just like Robert said, studying from nature is the best way to learn color.
Yeah, and so, with this, we're going to start next week to move into subjects that hopefully we get to take everything we've learned and start to apply it to ideas, which is something that we've made a career out of so far. And so hopefully that's something that you guys are excited about. It's definitely something we're really excited about diving into. So we'll see you next week.
See you next week.